Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here and Mike, and we're going to bring you this week's fishing report. We got a big sale coming up this weekend. Tomorrow, actually, yeah. So 26, 27, we're going to have pretty much discounts on all the fishing stuff, and extra discounts on our Anglers Cast Best of class on pretty much, you can see bait bottom rigs, lures, naked lures, etc. Come by, check it out. They're going to have, I believe, 25% off on the lures, and selected combos will have 15% off. Other than that,
let's dive on into the fishing report.
So, where do you want to start, Michael? You want to start with like perch and stuff?
Yeah, I guess we'll start with from the perch. So, yellow perch, it's been a little slow. They haven't been in the normal areas. They're still staging. Guaranteed, give it another couple weeks, they're going to start working their way up.
Typical perch stuff that we've been kind of encountering the past, honestly, 3 years at least, based on kind of like my notes and some other people's. We keep getting this weird fronts in February where we get warm days and then it cools off really bad the following week.
Yeah.
So what happens is you start seeing those small waves of fish that are staged, like you said, and whenever the water warms up to 45 degrees or around that, they'll move up. And as soon as it drops off, they're out.
Yeah, they move right back out.
So it's one of those things where right now, I think, like you said, pretty much, I will agree with that. If you can get out there after 1 or 2 days of warm weather, you might find some in certain creeks. Remember, shallow water warms up faster. It also cools down faster. So this upcoming week, we have, I believe, a couple of days in the 50s.
Which should do hopefully well.
It looks like the temperature will remain steady in your upper 40s, 50-degree temperature, which will say that really if the perch are going to move up, because it will start moving up hopefully by the middle to end of next week, this upcoming week. And then it really depends on what happens the following week. Typically, the good old school saying that everybody tells us here, especially Charlie, right? St. Patrick's Day.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying.
You trying to say he's old or something?
He's a legend.
He is.
But
St. Patty's Day is usually the old, the time.
Right, time frame with that. People might argue that it happens earlier or later.
And
but
we've
really,
seen it years prior
right.
where it has happened super early or super late. It's the fish will tell you when it's going to happen.
And the biggest thing with that
depending
is,
on weather, because every year's different.
Right, and the biggest thing with that is going to be every area is different. If you're fishing the lower eastern shore, I can tell you that that's probably going on already, or it's probably even past the peak. And that's talking about, like the Pocomoke area. That's typically the first area that gets.
It basically works up.
Right, and it's all based on temperature. So it's one of those things where, like last week, I was hearing guys from the Pocomoke in the upper part of the Pocomoke catching steady numbers of perch. Now, Nanticoke River, which is just a little bit far from, like a couple miles, I guess, from there, was producing fish. But then once you got to the Chop Tank and a couple of those areas closer to home, it was non-existent.
Exactly.
And the other thing we got to consider, too, is that we don't know this, but we don't know how the numbers have been with the yellow perch. Now,
Exactly.
Are they increasing, decreasing? No one knows. But, just by kind of fishing out there and seeing things compared to 5 years ago, it will change. There's places where those fish might not go back up to that we will typically fish. So it's one of those things where always think outside the box, go to different areas. Like you were saying, like if you're fishing in Hillsborough and you're not catching them there, work your way south.
Exactly. Work your way down.
Right.
If you're not finding them there, you would find males. If they're starting to work up, males always come first, then the females. So if you're not catching males there, it means it's either completely happened already, which we know it hasn't, or they're not coming up yet. They're still staging. So work your way down farther towards the mouths, things like that, not up towards the headwaters where they're.
That's
forming.
like Magothy. One of the places that everybody loves and hates is Beechwood Park.
You gotta love it, and you also gotta hate it.
Yeah, just because it's not consistent ever there. It's one of those things where fish move up whenever, and they're out. It's based on whatever tides or whatever. But
I've been there one day, same weather. Hammered them. Go the next day, I'm going to go hammer them again. Don't catch a single fish and don't see a single person catch a fish. And you're doing the exact same thing, same conditions, everything. It's just the way it is.
Right.
So
And that's just how it is. I mean, that's what they call it fishing, right?
Exactly.
But other than that, let's, I guess, talk about some of the stuff we were using or you can use for yellow perch. So we got our favorite jigs here.
Yep.
And there's multiple ways of doing this. This is going to be, I guess, more for your shallower water in a way if you put a float on there or bobber. And then you can also use some singles if you're in semi-shallow water, or you can tan on them if you're in deeper water.
Exactly.
Right?
So my favorite thing to do is if you're, especially when they're hot and heavy and you're in the full run, you're catching them every cast, catch 2 at once. Throw a little 116 and put a 132nd or 164 above it as a little tandem, and you can catch 2 at once. It's a great time.
Right.
It's
it's fun.
But these tipped with little plastics such as these are actually new, which I did use these the other day and for crappie, but that's in the future of the fishing report. Right? But these are great on tipped with those. They have a good scent. And see these little red tentacles on there, those little red mylar. That adds a little bit of extra flash and in the water. So those are fantastic. Same thing with these little the hot skirts. So I like to change it up and do these bucktails as well as the hot skirts. Just different days, different change it up, see what the fish want.
Always have options.
Or minnows. I mean, minnows is another great thing to do.
Minnows, grass shrimp, that stuff. You want to have it all out there. Other than that, we're looking at also in those same areas catching other fish. Going
Pickerel,
back to
crappie,
even trout.
trout.
For example, like Tuckahoe. They
Exactly.
stocked Tuckahoe, I believe, like 2 or 3 days ago, whenever it was. And a lot of these little creeks that they're stocking, some of the perch move up there too.
Yeah.
So why not catch your limit of trout and then go out?
See, that's my favorite time of year, because you do, if you're off one day and it's nice, you do the old round. So you head over to Greensboro, try to catch some perch. If you're not catching them, or if you do catch them, Hillsboro, then you go over to Tuckahoe, you fish the spillway, catch some trout, and you just on the spillway, you turn around, you go up to the lake, and you try to catch crappie, bass, pickerel. So you get like the whole trifecta of fish that is a great time of year for.
And I know we're talking a lot about the Eastern Shore, but if you're on this side of the bridge, on the Annapolis area, most of these spots are going to be a little bit west, I guess, of the city. So I know we have like Patapsco State Valley Park there, where you'll find some of those trout. Savage Mills, I guess, or Savage, which is a little Patuxent. So just keep an eye on that. And with that saying, this is one of my all-time kind of favorite things to use for honestly anything really. That's a small little float and your little 1/64 of an ounce jig.
It's basically like Kimbrough was saying, float and fly.
Float and fly.
It does work.
The other day we were at Unicorn. We were catching trout just floating.
Yes.
Those.
Oh yeah.
We caught,
People think it's only spinners and power bait.
Oh, no.
But no, you can catch them on jigs. You can catch them on a bunch of different things. And that's the best thing about fishing, is you change it up. Every day's different.
Right.
I'm sure you were catching more or different fish that other people weren't, because they were using other things. Sometimes they get used to one tactic or one lure, change it up, they will hit other things.
Right. And now crappie. I know you were talking about crappie fishing.
Same thing, 1/64 or 1/32. I was using these hot skirts jigs with small plastics, catching some good crappie, and as it kind of slowed down, we were also tipping them with minnows once the plastics weren't working as well. Under a slip float has been the best, especially if you're fishing in areas like ponds or lakes where you're on the shore, because we weren't on a boat, where you're in like overhangs and stuff. Not having the helicopter effect with the bobber up here and the jig down here of casting and getting wrapped around branches. I know Lindsay has a very hard time with casting in small places with the bobber and everything. So the slip float is always key, especially with crappie, because it gives that effect of. I like to pop. I like to pop my rod when I'm crappie fishing. So your jig will come up, and then will slowly fall back down, and that's effective. You can try to you can find the different depth of water that the fish are staging in, and it's easier to cast because your jig is down here along with your bobber, and you can just cast one little versus it being a helicopter. So these slip floats are key. Personally.
And if you are trying to get out there and do some of this, pan fishing around this area here, there's only a few ponds you can really go target them. One of them I think you need a pass, which is that lake. Waterworks?
Yes.
And I don't think you're allowed to keep them there.
No, you're not allowed to keep any fish there.
So check that out on their website or whatever. Probably one of the better places or areas around the Western Shore. You're going to have to travel down to the Potomac, honestly. Yes. With most of your ponds and lakes having better fishing and quality fish on the Eastern Shore.
Yes. the mill ponds.
Yep.
I know I've caught some ginormous crappie in the Delaware mill ponds. Doing the
And
same
remember,
concept.
every DNR
And they're a pickerel.
right? Every DNR website has all these places listed, at least all the public ones that you are allowed to fish. So head over there, and they'll literally have them listed. And there's a lot of information that you can get from just searching on their website. Other than that, pickerel, and bass,
same
right?
areas you're fishing for yellow perch, the trout and crappie, stuff like that. They're in the ponds, rivers, tributaries, things like that. There are going to be pickerel. You can do the same tactic, minnow under a bobber, same way you're fishing them. Same thing with the little jig, tip of the minnow, bouncing off the bottom, as you were for yellow perch. You're going to catch pickerel, spinners, jerk baits, things like that.
Right.
All the best thing, almost bass tactics as well.
Yeah,
Spinner
same
baits,
stuff. They'll
jerk
work.
baits, things like that.
And talking about bass is going to be one of those things where once the water's warming up and whatnot, it's been steady bite, just small finesse baits on the bottom, working through hard bottom areas. It holds a little more heat, so those fish will kind of stack around those areas. Really, what you're looking for is shallow water, close to deep water, anywhere from 3 to like 8 foot of water if you can find those areas, and you'll catch different types of fish with them too. You might catch some pickerel, panfish,
Nars.
but other than that, it's been pretty steady, and it will continue to stay this way as the temperatures kind of warm up.
Speaking of bass, might as well go to the striped variety.
Yeah.
Striped bass. So rock fishing still been decent in the deeper water, super deep. Using heavy jigs like these 1 ounce, 1.5,
Those are
2
special,
ounce.
aren't they?
Yes, these are special. These are going to be on deeper discount during the sales event.
And they're a glow.
They're glow.
Yeah. So apparently he only makes I guess limited amounts of them for.
Either
There you go.
you've been in his basement and gotten them, or
Yeah. So make sure you come by and get some of those. And other than that, I think that's what we got for this week.
yeah.
Yep. So make sure you like the video, subscribe, whatever. Send us pictures
Get out there,
more than
go fish.
anything, and catch them up.
Good luck out there. Have fun.